What's up, bud? It's Rob. This is Apparel Success. And what I want to share with you in this video here is something that confused me for literally the longest time growing my clothing brand, which is how on earth are these big clothing brands making any money at all after all the overhead, after their cost of goods, after their shipping costs, after all of their promotional items, hiring people to pack and send out orders, all of the costs that go into growing a clothing brand. How on earth are people actually making money from this? This is a question that really drove me nuts for the longest time, and I think I have the answer for it. And I'm really excited to share it with you because I think it's really going to put things into perspective about how exactly to go about growing a clothing brand and what it really looks like. So here it is. Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at Design Crowd. And if designs are something that you struggle with, then I really recommend that you give them a shot. You post a project on Design Crowd, amazing designers from all around the world are going to compete for your project. You choose the winner, then you get that design plus revisions. This is the best-selling design on my website, and I got the design made through Design Crowd. If you're interested, head over to designcrowd.com/apparel to learn about the special offer that I have for you where you can save up to $100, or simply use the discount code APPAREL when you post a project on Design Crowd. All right, so it was really only once I started running my clothing brand that I realized how expensive it can be to run a clothing brand. All of your inventory costs, all of your shipping costs, your advertising costs if you want to start scaling up your clothing brand. Then, if you reach a certain amount of volume with your clothing brand, you need to hire people to help you pack orders and to get all of your systems down so that it's not just you as the clothing brand owner packing all the orders all the time. Then there's all the promotional items. There's all of the supplies that you need on a regular basis. And, for a while I struggled with this. I struggled with really paying myself significantly and being able to understand how clothing brands are able to make profit. And the answer to how you can solve this problem and become truly profitable with your clothing brand amongst all of these expenses is actually a bit of a conundrum. Basically, the way that this works is in order for you to be profitable with your clothing brand, you need to be moving high volume, because when you're moving high volume, you're able to get your costs down. So the two aspects of making your clothing brand profitable are, number one, getting high volume, and number two, getting your costs down. And they go hand in hand. But here's the paradox. You can't get high volume, say ordering, 1,000 hoodies at a time to stock up your inventory so that you can get the price per unit, the cost per unit down, unless you're already moving that amount of inventory. So the way that most people start up is they end up making 25 hoodies, 50 hoodies. And when they do that, the price per unit is going to be really, really high because they're not making a lot. And they're basically ordering the minimum order quantity, which is definitely the way to start out your clothing brand, because you don't want to be doing too much risk and ordering all this inventory from the beginning, investing like $20,000, $30,000 into inventory. And, then you find out that your clothing brand sucks and that you're not going to be able to sell the designs that you came out with. So it makes sense to start from a place where, you're ordering low quantities and the prices are higher. This is where, the long-term aspect of growing a brand comes into play. The longer that you do this, say over 2 years, you start out with that low quantities and it slowly builds up to, more and more volume. You're selling more and more clothing and you can increase your order quantities for your inventory, the more that your prices are going to go down per unit. And it's really important that as you increase the volume and you sell more, that you constantly work to get your prices down, because that's basically the only way that you're going to get to those areas where you're truly profitable. You're selling a hoodie for $64 and you're making each hoodie for like $15, $18. That's where, you're really going to be able to get into those good profit zones. When we first started, and we were only selling a few hoodies, we'd make our hoodies for like $30. We'd sell them for $60. You put them on sale for like 20% off, then it goes down to like $48. And after all of the other expenses, like your supplies and stuff, you're literally not making any profit. But it's a good move when you're first starting because you're building your brand. You're getting it out there. And all of that is going to lead to you selling more clothing in the future and getting to the point where you have this high volume. Not only does getting to high volume help you get your costs down for each item that you're selling inside of your clothing brand, but getting high volume will also get your shipping costs down. As you work through the tiers, if you're moving a lot of clothing and you're making a lot of shipments, the more shipments that you make with most shipping companies, your price goes down and they actually start to give you deals. So I'm at a point now with my own clothing brand where instead of just having my foot on the gas, scaling up my brand, which I'm super tempted to do because this month, I'll probably do well over 40 grand in sales, spending under 5 grand in Facebook ads. So it's really tempting for me to just step on the gas and keep scaling it. But right now I'm actually just taking a step back and making sure that all of the costs for all of my inventory are as low as they possibly can be. I'm making sure that, all of the systems are in place to be able to handle it if I start scaling up the brand that way, because there is a certain amount of infrastructure that you need to have in place to handle all the orders if you do start to scale up. And just taking a step back, taking a breath to recognize where you're at and make adjustments to make your brand more profitable and make it run more smoothly is super important. The original question, how are all these big brands making so much money and able to keep running? It's because they're moving so much volume and their prices, their costs are so low that it's so profitable with the cost and the amount of volume that they're moving that, they can afford to pay people to pack their orders and have a whole fulfillment thing going and all that stuff because they're just moving enough and it's allowing them to get their costs down. And there is a certain point with your brand where you will have to lower your costs like that. So, the big point in this video is most of you watching this are probably at a stage where, you're not selling a crazy amount yet. And you're not trying to be crazy risky and invest in a whack load of inventory because you don't know if it's going to sell yet. And so maybe you're ordering the minimum order quantity when you're ordering your hoodies or your t-shirts or you're making them all. And it's okay to go through that phase where, you're just making barely any profit or you're just breaking even, because that's basically your starting point. That's where you're making your first customers. You're building your brand, you're building your value at that stage. And there will be a certain point, 2 or 3 years down the road where holy crap, now you're moving enough that you can lower your costs and, you're reaching certain limits with your order quantities where your costs are super low and things just become so much more profitable for you. I thought that this was a really important video for the channel because it's something that I struggled with for a really long time, and it's a really hard thing to grasp because there really is that paradox between, needing a certain amount of volume to get your costs down, but not having enough volume to get your costs down when you first start, obviously. So, I hope that by breaking it down like that, you can kind of see the full scope of things and it keeps you somewhat motivated to stay on your path to eventually get to that point. And that, that point is coming in the future. If you're making some sales right now and if things are flying a little bit for you and, you're able to make some sales, it's coming. Be patient, keep building your brand, keep moving volume and increasing your volume. And as you do that, you'll be able to get your costs down. So I really hope that that helped. If and only if you got a lot of value out of this video, please hit the like button for me. It really helps me get these videos out there. And let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Drop your brand down there as well to check out the brands that are watching. And if you haven't already, check out my free clothing brand marketing masterclass. All you have to do to get access is go to apparelsuccess.com/masterclass and you can watch the whole thing for free. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I want to tell you about the closed Facebook group that we have for Apparel Success. There's a link in the description. Follow that link, join us in the group. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.